So we wanted to go back and take a look at this posting on Glassdoor on June 27th of 2018 because this poster brings up a lot of issues that we've talked about in our channel, and it's really just a way to affirm what's really happening with this company. So again, we're talking about what I believe this is a female teacher. She's talking about the how good the schools are. Typically they are, and of course how lousy the company is. So she's talking about the visa process being very fast, and it is because they normally issue a single entry visa. But it looks like it may be a little bit different in this case. So let's take a look at some of what she says. So pay was irregular. Sometimes it was on time. Other times it was late. And so that's typically a pattern. However, in Damam and in the Eastern Province, we were late all the time. Every time that I was there, and there was a history of them being late. She's talking about this basic insurance, and so again, we're probably talking about the domestic, the Class A insurance that we've talked about, and it's not being accepted at the nicer hospitals. All right, and they were forced to actually go to a clinic. And so we're not sure what kind of medical situation she's talking about, but she's saying that it was extremely low copay. And that hasn't been our experience, particularly if you have a more serious medical issue. So let's talk about this housing, because we've already said that this is a teacher contract kickback scheme. So when they're recruiting you, and you can see, we've seen this theme a lot, they're just going to offer you the job, because they just need people. They don't really care who you are, what kind of skills you have. As long as you have the basic requirements for the job, they're going to fly you in. It's at the last minute. The accommodation she's talking about was tiny and dirty. The fixtures didn't work. We've talked about the high frequency hotel and other poor housing. So it sounds like this is a slum. The hotel was also offered on hourly rate, which is very suspicious because now it's beginning to sound a little bit more like a brothel than a hotel. And again, we're looking at this idea that when you get your housing allowance, they're not going to pay you, and you have to activate a court case with the Ministry of Labor. The English version of the contract is poorly translated. This, of course, is intentional, because there's a lot of misinformation in these contracts. There's a lot of labor violations. Obviously, the Ministry of Labor knows this, and we need to talk about the Ministry of Labor at some point, because the minister of the Ministry of Labor is the former TVTC, Technical Vocational Training College governor. All right, so it's an interesting migration of this person. So this minister would have intimate knowledge of QEHC, of the Ministry of Labor, and isn't doing anything to help hundreds of Westerners that are being systematically violated. So here we're talking about the fact that the contract violates many Saudi labor laws, and we've talked about this. They cannot move you to another location without a 30-day notice and your approval. And they're going to tell you that you can only file your labor case in Riyadh. This is not true. So there's some other fraud that we're going to talk about. They're not providing any materials for the classroom, not even the textbooks, and this is common. This person actually got in a coma, which is pretty unusual, but we can see that it took a long time, and they were actually stuck in the kingdom for quite a while, and the insurance card, as we mentioned in the medical fraud, was delayed, and this is all intentional. This has nothing to do with BUPA. If they were to submit the information for a medical card, they would have one within 5 days. So let's talk about the pay here, because this is one of the financial frauds of the kickback scheme. Is under Saudi labor law, at the moment you arrive into Saudi, your pay starts. It doesn't matter the moment you walk into the classroom. So this is part of the fraud the QEHC is conducting, is that they're not paying you until you enter the classroom, and they're ending the pay when you leave the classroom. You would be paid to the last day you're in the kingdom. Until you have your ticket in your hand, you're on the payroll. That's just the way it works. So we can see that they're manipulating, they're prorating salary, and they're just stealing from teachers. This whole idea of 1 day's absence with 2 days is again a labor law violation. However, it's pretty easy to get a hospital note, but this is just another way that they're going to profit off of teachers, and they're exploiting teachers when they're ill. Because sometimes if you're ill, you just don't want to see a doctor. You know, you may have the flu. There's just some situations you won't have to see one. So this person again confirms the airfare fraud, that they gave them half the amount of the ticket, which again is a labor violation. And it doesn't matter if they're on the final exit. They aren't paying full ticket return. So single entry had to be requested well in advance. So again, we're talking about an Akama. You cannot exit the kingdom without an exit visa with the Akama. They have to pay money for that, and you can see that this is going to be a hassle. And they're going to drag their feet, and they're going to not respond to emails or phone calls. So this is a theme too, is after the academic year ends, they're going to stick you in these hotels for a couple weeks before they pay you. This would all be paid time. Under Saudi labor law, you're on the salary, as I've already said, until the time you have your ticket, full ticket in the hand that the company provides. So finally, let's talk about the advice to management. So we know that we've already ascertained that if you're working for this company, if you're Francisco Augustine or Augustine Francisco, whatever the hell his name is, he is a sociopath or a psychopath. Okay, all these people that are on the top end that are abusing these employees would have to be a psychopath or a sociopath, because nobody is going to take a job where their job is to lie and abuse other people. So anyway, she's got this advice. It's obviously not going to be recognized, and this scam is really interfering with the 2030 vision that Saudi Arabia has, and it's going to continue until the day that the Ministry of Labor decides to do something about it, and the Ministry of Education. And we will be shooting a video on both those positions because they both have intimate knowledge of QEHC, and they're just not doing anything. And so it does compel us to ask why.